Night had settled softly over the bamboo grove monastery. The moon hung above the silent trees like a polished pearl, bathing the pathways and lotus ponds in silver light. A gentle breeze wandered through the bamboo leaves, creating a quiet music that seemed to rise and fall like a peaceful breath. The monks sat around the Blessed One in reverent silence. Some had gathered after evening meditation. Others had come from distant corners of the monastery after completing their duties. The air was calm, and yet a feeling of warm affection lingered among them. Their conversation had turned toward one person. Ananda. Faithful Ananda. The attendant who had followed the Buddha for years. The companion who rarely left his side. The disciple who remembered countless teachings and who served tirelessly without complaint. One monk spoke softly. Venerable Ananda has protected the Blessed One many times. Another nodded. He never thinks of his own safety. A third added, even in difficult situations, he remains loyal. It is as if his devotion cannot be shaken. The monks continued speaking. The Buddha listened quietly. A gentle smile appeared upon his face. Then he said, "Monks, what you say is true." The assembly immediately fell silent. The bamboo leaves whispered in the darkness. The Buddha continued. Ananda's loyalty did not begin in this life. The monks looked at one another. Their curiosity awakened. The Buddha's voice became soft and distant, as though it traveled across countless centuries. Long ago, in a distant age, he was willing to give up his very life for me. The night seemed to grow even quieter. The moonlight shimmered across the stone courtyard, and slowly, the Buddha began to tell a story from a world long vanished. A story hidden beneath the dust of ages. A story of friendship. A story of courage. A story of a golden king among birds. Far beyond the lands of men, beyond villages and kingdoms, beyond roads and rivers, there rose the mighty Himalayas. Ancient mountains touched the sky. Their snowy peaks shone beneath the sun during the day and glowed beneath the moon at night. The winds that moved across their heights carried the scent of pine forests, wildflowers, and untouched snow. In one secluded valley, hidden among sacred cliffs, lay a lake unlike any other. Its waters were clear as crystal. Lotus flowers bloomed upon its surface throughout the year. Pink blossoms opened each morning to greet the dawn. White flowers reflected the stars at night. Golden reeds swayed gently along the shore. The lake seemed untouched by sorrow, untouched by greed, untouched by violence. It was a place where peace itself appeared to dwell. This was the sacred lake of Jataka Peak. And there lived a remarkable king. A king unlike any ruler among humans. He was known as Dhritarashtra, the Golden Goose King. His feathers shone with the brilliance of pure gold. When sunlight touched his wings, it seemed as though liquid sunlight flowed across the water. When moonlight illuminated him, he appeared like a celestial being descended from heaven. His eyes were calm and wise. His movements were graceful. His voice carried a rare gentleness that soothed all who heard it. Yet his beauty was not what made him beloved. His wisdom was. The Golden Goose King lived according to virtue. He harmed no living creature. He spoke truthfully. He cultivated patience. He practiced compassion. Whenever disputes arose among the flock, he settled them peacefully. Whenever younger geese became frightened, he comforted them. Whenever pride appeared among the strong or despair appeared among the weak, he reminded them of the importance of kindness and understanding. Under his leadership, the flock flourished. Not hundreds, not thousands, but 90,000 geese followed him. They traveled together across the mountains and valleys. They nested together. They searched for food together. And they listened whenever their king taught them. Many evenings, as the sky turned orange and crimson, the flock gathered along the lakeshore. The Golden Goose King would stand upon a smooth stone near the water. The younger birds sat quietly. The elders listened attentively. Even the breeze seemed to pause. Then he would speak about life, about suffering, about wisdom, about the consequences of good and bad actions. Hatred never ends hatred, he would say. It ends only through kindness. Or perhaps he would tell them, greed promises satisfaction, but creates endless hunger. Or sometimes, a loyal friend is more precious than a mountain of gold. The geese loved these teachings. Not because they were forced to listen, but because they felt truth within them. As the seasons passed, the flock grew harmonious and strong. Peace filled their lives. Yet far away, beyond the mountains, destiny was quietly unfolding. In the great city of Benares there ruled a king named Suhmukha. His kingdom was prosperous. His armies were strong. His treasury overflowed with wealth. But among all his possessions, nothing was more precious to him than his queen. Queen Kima. She was admired throughout the land for her beauty, intelligence, and gentle heart. The king loved her deeply. He trusted her completely. Whenever she smiled, his worries faded. Whenever she suffered, his own heart became troubled. One night, beneath a sky filled with stars, Queen Kima experienced a strange dream. It seemed more vivid than ordinary dreams, more real than imagination. In the dream she found herself standing within a magnificent palace hall. Golden pillars stretched toward the heavens. Lotus lanterns glowed with soft light. The air felt peaceful beyond description. At the center of the hall stood a golden throne. Yet no human king sat upon it. Instead, a magnificent golden goose rested there. His feathers radiated light. His eyes shone with wisdom. His presence filled the hall with serenity. Around him sat countless other golden birds. All listened respectfully. Then the golden goose began to speak. His voice was gentle, calm, compassionate. He spoke about goodness, about forgiveness, about patience, about the path leading beyond suffering. Every word entered her heart like cool water entering dry earth. As she listened, she felt lighter, happier, free from every burden. For the first time in many years, complete peace filled her mind. The dream seemed endless. Yet suddenly she awoke. Darkness filled her chamber. The palace was silent. The dream was gone. But its feeling remained. And so did a powerful longing. She sat upright in bed. Her heart beat rapidly. The image of the golden goose lingered before her eyes. His voice echoed within her memory. Again and again she tried to return to sleep. But she could not. Something inside her had changed. The following morning she thought of the dream. The next day she thought of it again, and again, and again. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. The memory refused to fade. The queen found herself staring toward distant mountains. Wondering. Searching. Yearning. Could such a being truly exist? Was the dream merely fantasy? Or had she somehow glimpsed a real creature living somewhere beyond the known world? The longing slowly deepened. Like a seed hidden beneath the soil. Growing unseen. Growing stronger. Until eventually it touched every part of her life. She lost interest in celebrations. Music no longer delighted her. Food lost its flavor. Her attendants noticed her sadness. Her health began to weaken. Her body grew thin. Sleep became difficult. Even laughter disappeared from the palace halls. The king became increasingly worried. He summoned physicians. They prescribed medicines. He summoned astrologers. They examined the stars. He summoned priests. They offered prayers. Yet nothing helped. No remedy could cure the queen's mysterious illness. For the sickness lived not within her body. It lived within her heart, and somewhere far away, beyond the snowy mountains, a golden goose king watched the evening sun fade across a peaceful lake. Unaware that destiny had already begun weaving their paths together. Far from the bamboo grove of the Buddha's lifetime, far from the cities and villages of men, the moon rose over the Himalayan wilderness. Its silver light spread across endless ridges of snow and stone. The sacred lake of Jataka Peak shimmered beneath the stars. Lotus blossoms floated peacefully upon the water. Golden reeds swayed softly at the shoreline. The great flock of geese slept among the reeds, their heads tucked beneath their wings. Only a few remained awake. Among them was the Golden Goose King. Dhritarashtra stood upon a smooth stone overlooking the lake. The night air was cool. The mountains were silent. Above him stretched a sky crowded with stars. The king often spent part of each night in contemplation. While others slept, he reflected upon the nature of existence. He observed the changing seasons. He watched creatures arrive and depart. He saw youth become age, strength become weakness, life become death. And from these observations arose a profound understanding. Nothing remained unchanged. Not beauty, not power, not sorrow, not joy. Everything flowed onward like water moving through a river. Because he understood this deeply, he never became attached to temporary pleasures. Nor did he become overwhelmed by temporary hardships. His heart remained steady, gentle, clear, like the still surface of the sacred lake. That night, as moonlight touched his golden feathers, he sensed a subtle uneasiness moving through the world. Not danger, not fear, but change. The kind of change that quietly approaches before revealing itself. He could not explain it. Yet he felt it. Far away, in the kingdom of Benares, Queen Khema sat beside her palace window. The city slept beneath darkness. Oil lamps flickered in distant streets. Temple bells occasionally echoed through the night. But the queen remained awake. Her attendants had begged her to rest. The royal physicians had prescribed herbal remedies. Nothing worked. Her thoughts always returned to the same image. The golden goose. The compassionate voice. The feeling of peace. Every day her longing grew stronger. At first she had tried to ignore it. Then she had attempted to forget. But forgetting proved impossible. The dream had touched something deep within her spirit. Something she could neither explain nor control. One evening the king entered her chambers. He found her staring toward the northern horizon. Toward the distant mountains. Toward a place she had never seen. Yet somehow felt connected to. King Suhmukha sat beside her. His face showed concern. "Khema," he said softly, "your suffering grieves me. Tell me truthfully. What troubles your heart?" The queen lowered her eyes. For a moment she remained silent. Then she spoke. My lord, I fear you will think me foolish. The king shook his head. Nothing you say could make me think less of you. Tears formed in her eyes, and slowly she told him everything. She described the dream, the shining palace, the golden throne, the radiant Goose King, the teachings, the peace she had experienced, and the longing that followed. When she finished, silence filled the room. The king listened carefully. Unlike many rulers, he genuinely loved his queen. He did not dismiss her feelings. Nor did he mock her dream. Instead, he pondered deeply. Finally he asked, if this golden goose truly exists, would seeing him heal your suffering? The queen nodded. I believe it would. And hearing him speak again, fresh tears appeared. Yes. The king took her hands gently. Then I will find him. The queen looked at him with surprise. My lord. No matter how far away he may be. But no one knows where he lives. Then we shall discover it. For the first time in many months, a faint smile appeared on the queen's face. The next morning the king summoned the wisest Brahmins, scholars, hunters, and travelers from throughout the kingdom. They gathered inside the royal court. The king described the dream. He spoke of the golden goose. Then he asked a simple question. Does such a creature exist? The court murmured. Many shook their heads. Some exchanged uncertain glances. Then an elderly Brahmin stepped forward. His hair was white. His voice was calm. And his eyes reflected years of study. My king, he said, ancient traditions speak of a golden goose king who dwells beyond the Himalayas. The court immediately became silent. The king leaned forward. Tell me more. The Brahmin nodded. It is said that he leads a vast flock. His wisdom surpasses that of ordinary creatures. He teaches virtue and compassion. Some believe he is no ordinary bird, but a being of great spiritual attainment. Hope flickered within the king's heart. Can he be found? The Brahmin hesitated. Perhaps. How? The old scholar continued. Such a being cannot be hunted through force. He is cautious and wise. Yet all creatures seek food and safety. The king listened carefully. The Brahmin explained a plan. North of Benares there lay a broad stretch of unused land. A great lake could be created there. Lotus flowers could be planted. Grain could be scattered abundantly. Trees could provide shelter. Most importantly, strict laws could protect all birds and animals living there. No hunting. No trapping. No harm of any kind. In time, birds from every direction would gather. If fortune favored them, perhaps the Golden Goose King would one day arrive. The king immediately approved the proposal. Within days thousands of workers began construction. They dug channels. They redirected streams. They planted lotus roots. They built embankments. Gardens appeared around the shoreline. Fruit trees were planted. Fields of grain surrounded the area. What had once been empty land gradually transformed into a paradise. Months passed. Then more months. At last the lake was complete. It became known as the Lake of Blessings. The king issued a royal decree throughout the kingdom. Any person harming a creature within the sanctuary would face severe punishment. Hunters were forbidden. Fishermen were restricted. Birds and animals wandered freely without fear. The sanctuary quickly gained a reputation for safety. Soon cranes arrived. Then ducks. Then herons. Then swans. Flocks appeared from every direction. The waters filled with life. The king waited patiently. The queen waited even more eagerly. And far away in the mountains, rumors of the new lake slowly began spreading among the younger geese. One morning several youthful geese approached the Golden Goose King. Their eyes shone with excitement. Their voices buzzed with enthusiasm. "My king! We have wonderful news. There is a new lake in the lands below." The Golden Goose King listened quietly. The young birds described everything. The abundant grain. The endless lotus flowers. The absence of hunters. The safety. The comfort. The opportunity. As they spoke, excitement spread throughout the flock. Many geese began imagining the lake. The easy food. The pleasant surroundings. The freedom from searching long distances. Soon dozens gathered around. Then hundreds. Everyone wished to visit. Only the Golden Goose King remained thoughtful. Very thoughtful. His experience had taught him an important lesson. When something appears too perfect, wisdom requires caution. After listening patiently, he finally spoke. "My friends, does this lake not seem unusual?" The younger geese exchanged glances. "What do you mean, my king?" The Golden Goose King looked toward the distant horizon. "A place with unlimited food." "Yes. A place completely safe from harm." "Yes. A place built by humans." The geese hesitated. The king continued. "Humans rarely create such things without purpose." Silence spread among the flock. The younger geese shifted uneasily. Some understood his concern. Others did not. "My king," one young goose replied, "perhaps not all humans are dangerous." "That is true. Then why should we fear?" The Golden Goose King smiled gently. We should not fear. But neither should we abandon caution. The younger birds remained unconvinced. Day after day they returned. Again they pleaded. Again they described the wonderful lake. Again they begged the king to visit. The requests became impossible to ignore. The flock's excitement continued growing. Eventually thousands wished to go. The Golden Goose King observed them carefully. He knew their hearts. He knew their desires. And he knew that forbidding them completely might create resentment. At last he sighed softly. If we go, he said, we will go together. A great cry of joy erupted across the lakeshore. The younger geese spread their wings. The elders nodded approvingly. The flock celebrated. Yet deep within his heart, the Golden Goose King felt a faint shadow of concern. Not fear. Not certainty. Only the quiet intuition that important events were approaching. Events that would test the hearts of many. And reveal the true meaning of friendship. The morning chosen for the journey arrived beneath a sky of pale gold. Dawn spread slowly across the Himalayas. The snowy peaks glowed with soft light. Mist drifted above the sacred lake like silver silk. The great flock gathered along the shoreline. 90,000 geese stood waiting. Some were excited. Some were curious. Some spoke endlessly about the marvelous lake they would soon see. Only the Golden Goose King remained quiet. He gazed across the water one last time. The sacred lake had been their home for many years. Every lotus flower, every stretch of shoreline, every hidden cove among the reeds. All of it was familiar. Peaceful. Safe. Yet now the flock's wishes carried them elsewhere. The king did not oppose them. A leader, he knew, must sometimes allow others to learn through experience. Even when he senses danger ahead. He spread his magnificent wings. Golden feathers flashed beneath the morning sun. Immediately the entire flock became silent. My friends, he said gently, today we travel together. Thousands of eyes focused upon him. Remember what I have taught you. The younger geese nodded eagerly. The king continued, abundance often attracts attachment. Comfort often weakens caution. And desire can blind even intelligent beings. Many listened respectfully. Some understood. Others were already imagining the food awaiting them. The king noticed this. Yet he spoke calmly. If danger appears, remain composed. If confusion arises, remain united. If difficulty comes, do not abandon wisdom. The flock bowed their heads. Then, with a single powerful movement, the Golden Goose King leapt into the sky. The air thundered with wings. 90,000 geese rose together. The great flock spiraled upward, higher, higher still, until they became a vast golden cloud drifting across the morning heavens. Below them stretched forests, rivers, villages, farmlands. The world passed beneath their wings. Hour after hour they traveled southward. Eventually the mountains gave way to fertile plains. The air grew warmer. The rivers broadened. Human settlements appeared more frequently. Then at last they saw it. The Lake of Blessings. It sparkled like a jewel beneath the sun. Lotus flowers covered vast sections of the water. Fruit trees lined the banks. Golden grain lay scattered everywhere. Birds of every kind filled the air. The younger geese cried out with delight. "It's beautiful. It's even better than we imagined." The Golden Goose King remained silent. The lake was indeed beautiful. Yet beauty alone revealed nothing. As they descended, he carefully observed everything. The shorelines, the trees, the paths, the surrounding fields. Most importantly, he searched for signs of human activity. What he found concerned him. The lake appeared too carefully designed, too organized, too perfect. This was not nature. This was intention. Still, no traps were visible. No hunters appeared. No danger revealed itself. At least not yet. The flock landed. Immediately excitement exploded among the younger birds. Some rushed toward the grain. Others explored the shoreline. Many scattered in every direction. The Golden Goose King watched quietly. Then he walked to a shallow section near the water's edge. There he began eating calmly. Slowly. Methodically. Without greed. Without distraction. A few older geese joined him. But most wandered freely. The king sighed inwardly. The first day passed peacefully. Then the second. Then the third. Each morning the flock returned. Each evening they flew back to the mountains. Nothing happened. No hunters appeared. No traps were discovered. Gradually even the cautious geese began relaxing. The younger birds became more confident. Some even laughed about the king's earlier concerns. Perhaps humans are kinder than we thought. Perhaps this lake really is a gift. Maybe there was never any danger at all. The Golden Goose King heard such conversations. Yet he did not criticize them. Experience would teach what words could not. Meanwhile, another pair of eyes had been observing the flock. A hunter. The king of Benares had obeyed the Brahmin's advice. Years earlier he had assigned a skilled hunter to watch over the sanctuary. His duty was simple. Wait. Observe. Be patient. The hunter had spent countless days hidden among trees and reeds. At first he saw ordinary birds. Then rarer birds. Then unusual birds. But none resembled the legendary Golden Goose King. Until now. The moment he saw the radiant leader descending from the sky, he knew. There could be no mistake. No ordinary creature shone with such brilliance. No ordinary bird carried such dignity. The hunter watched carefully. Day after day. Learning. Studying. Observing habits. Patterns. Movements. He quickly noticed something important. The Golden Goose King always landed in the same place. Always. While the others wandered. While the younger birds scattered across the lake. Their king remained disciplined. Each morning he stood near the same shallow shoreline. Each morning he ate from nearly the same patch of ground. Each morning he behaved exactly as before. The hunter smiled. Predictability creates opportunity. For many days he continued watching. Never rushing. Never revealing himself. Patience was the hunter's greatest skill. At last he felt certain. He knew where the king would land. He knew where the king would walk. He knew where to place a trap. That evening the hunter returned home. But unlike previous nights, he carried a quiet excitement in his heart. Tomorrow might finally bring success. Meanwhile, far away at the sacred lake, the Golden Goose King stood beside the water under moonlight. The flock rested peacefully. Yet sleep did not come easily to him. His intuition remained unsettled. For many days he had sensed something hidden beneath the surface. Like a shadow concealed beneath clear water. Everything appeared safe. Yet safety itself seemed suspicious. The king gazed at the stars. The night was beautiful. Still. Silent. A cool wind moved through the reeds. For a brief moment he considered forbidding the flock from returning. But then he looked across the sleeping birds. They were content. Trusting. Happy. No evidence existed. Only intuition. And a wise leader must distinguish between wisdom and fear. So he remained silent. Perhaps he was mistaken. Perhaps the danger existed only in his imagination. The stars gave no answer. The wind offered no warning. Only the quiet night surrounded him. And many miles away, beneath the same moon, a hunter carefully prepared a strong net woven from tough cords. A net designed to hold even the strongest bird. A net destined to change many lives before the next sunrise. The following morning dawned clear and beautiful. Golden sunlight spread across the plain surrounding the Lake of Blessings. The lotus flowers slowly opened their petals. Dragonflies skimmed across the surface of the water. A gentle breeze carried the scent of wet earth and blooming flowers. To all appearances, it was a perfect day. The flock gathered in the mountains as usual. The younger geese chatted excitedly. Many had grown completely comfortable with their visits to the sanctuary. Weeks had passed without incident. The warnings of the Golden Goose King seemed increasingly distant. Even some of the older birds had relaxed. Only the king himself remained watchful. Yet even he could find no visible reason for concern. When the time came, he spread his wings and led the flock once more toward the southern plains. High above forests and rivers they flew. The sky was bright. The air was calm. Everything appeared exactly as it had on every previous journey. Below, hidden among reeds near the shore, the hunter waited. Before sunrise he had arrived at the lake. Carefully he concealed himself inside a wooden shelter covered with branches and reeds. No bird could easily notice him. Then he laid his trap. The net was strong. Its cords were woven from tough fibers. Its knots had been tested again and again. Most importantly, it was placed exactly where the Golden Goose King always landed. The hunter checked his work one final time. Then he waited. Patience. Stillness. Silence. The morning passed slowly. At last he heard it. The distant sound of thousands of wings. A deep rolling rhythm moving through the sky. The flock had arrived. The hunter peered through a narrow opening. There they were, thousands upon thousands of geese descending from the heavens. And at their center shone a figure of living gold. The Golden Goose King. Even after observing him for many days, the hunter felt awe. The bird seemed almost supernatural. Sunlight danced upon his feathers. His movements radiated calm authority. Every goose naturally followed his lead. The hunter felt a strange mixture of admiration and determination. Then the flock began to land. Just as always. Exactly as always. The younger geese scattered toward the richest feeding grounds. Others moved toward the lotus ponds. The older birds settled near familiar locations. And the Golden Goose King walked toward his usual place beside the shallow shoreline. Step by step. Unhurried. Peaceful. Trusting. One final step. And destiny closed around him. The hidden net sprang upward. A sharp snap echoed across the water. Before the king could react, strong cords tightened around his legs. His wings became entangled. The net wrapped around his body. In an instant he was trapped. The sudden noise shattered the morning calm. Every head turned. Every eye widened. For a moment the entire lake seemed frozen. Then panic exploded. The king! The king has been captured. Danger! Fly! Fear swept through the flock like wildfire. Thousands of wings erupted into motion. The sky darkened with birds. Cries echoed across the lake. The younger geese fled first. Then others followed. The instinct for survival overwhelmed reason. Within moments, vast numbers had taken to the air. Each bird thinking only of escape. Only of safety. Only of saving itself. The Golden Goose King struggled. The cords cut into his flesh. The more he pulled, the tighter they became. He quickly realized resistance was useless. So he became still. Calm. Breathing slowly. Accepting reality. His wise eyes watched the flock disappear into the sky. Not with anger. Not with disappointment. But with understanding. Fear is powerful. Even good beings can lose themselves when terror takes hold. Soon the great lake became strangely quiet. Most of the flock had vanished. The sky that moments earlier had been filled with wings now stood nearly empty. The king lowered his head. Not because he feared death, but because he worried for his people. Without guidance, how would they fare? Without leadership, would they remain united? Would they remember the teachings? Would they remember compassion? As these thoughts passed through his mind, he noticed movement nearby. A single figure stood upon the muddy shore. Still. Unmoving. The Golden Goose King's eyes widened slightly. It was Suhmukha. His general. His closest companion. His most trusted friend. While thousands had fled, Suhmukha remained. The young commander stood only a short distance away. His golden feathers trembled slightly in the morning breeze. Yet he did not move. He did not attempt to escape. He simply remained beside his king. The Goose King felt both gratitude and concern. "Friend," he called softly. Suhmukha stepped closer. "My king. You must leave." The younger goose shook his head. "No." The king spoke firmly. "Listen to me carefully." The cords tightened painfully around his body. Yet his voice remained calm. "All the others have escaped. That is good. They still have a chance to survive. You must join them." Suhmukha remained silent. The king continued. "If the hunter finds you here, you will be captured as well. Perhaps killed. Your life need not end with mine." The younger goose lowered his head respectfully. Still he did not move. A moment passed. Then another. The king sighed. "Why remain?" The answer came immediately. Because Suhmukha had already made his decision. And nothing in heaven or earth could change it. Morning sunlight shimmered across the surface of the Lake of Blessings. The frightened cries of the flock had long faded into the distance. Only silence remained. A silence broken only by the gentle movement of water against the shore and the occasional rustling of reeds in the breeze. The Golden Goose King remained trapped within the net. The cords dug into his golden feathers. His wings were pinned. His legs could scarcely move. Yet his face remained calm. Dignified. Peaceful. Not far away stood Suhmukha. Faithful Suhmukha. The commander of the flock. The friend who had chosen to stay behind. For several moments neither spoke. The king gazed at him quietly. In his eyes there was affection. And concern. At last the king broke the silence. "My friend." Suhmukha immediately stepped closer. "Yes, my king. You have always been loyal." The younger goose lowered his head respectfully. "But today your loyalty may cost your life." The king glanced toward the reeds where the hunter remained hidden. "He will come soon." Suhmukha nodded. "I know. He may kill us both." "I know." The king's voice grew more urgent. "Then why do you remain?" A gentle sadness appeared in Suhmukha's eyes. As though the answer should already be obvious. "My king. You truly do not know?" The Golden Goose King looked at him silently. Suhmukha took another step forward. "When the flock was hungry, who guided us. The king remained silent. When storms covered the mountains, who protected us? Still no answer. When disputes arose, who restored peace? The king listened quietly. When fear entered our hearts, who taught us courage? The morning breeze moved softly through the reeds. Suhmukha's voice became steadier. For many years you have cared for all of us. You have taught us, protected us, fed us, comforted us. You never abandoned anyone. His eyes glistened with tears. And now, when misfortune has fallen upon you, should I abandon you? The Golden Goose King closed his eyes briefly. The younger goose continued. If I leave now, what kind of friend would I be? What kind of companion? What kind of disciple? The king spoke softly. A living one. Suhmukha smiled sadly. A cowardly one. The king shook his head. No. One who survives. One who can continue helping the flock. Suhmukha's answer came without hesitation. There are things worse than death. The words hung in the air. Simple. Direct. True. The Golden Goose King opened his eyes. Suhmukha stood proudly before him. Though younger, though weaker, though facing mortal danger, his resolve remained unshaken. The king's heart filled with admiration. Yet he tried once more. My friend, listen carefully. The king's voice grew gentle. The flock needs leadership. If both of us die, who will guide them? You must return. You must protect them. You must become the leader they need. For a moment silence returned. Then Suhmukha smiled. A warm smile. The kind born from deep affection. My king. If the flock deserves leadership, then surely it deserves loyalty as well. The Golden Goose King said nothing. Suhmukha continued. How could I teach courage after abandoning my own friend? How could I speak of honor after choosing safety? How could I ask others to remain loyal if I fled at the first sign of danger? His voice grew stronger. Words alone cannot teach virtue. Example teaches virtue. The morning sunlight reflected from his golden feathers. His eyes shone with conviction. If I leave now, every lesson you taught becomes meaningless. The king felt a deep emotion stir within him. Not pride. Not sorrow. Something deeper. The quiet joy of seeing goodness fully awakened within another being. At that moment he understood. Suhmukha was no longer merely following his teachings. He had become the teachings. The younger goose stood beside the net. Not because he expected reward. Not because he hoped for praise. Not because he believed they would survive. He remained because love and gratitude left him no other choice. Many creatures remain faithful during times of comfort. Many remain loyal when loyalty costs nothing. But true friendship reveals itself only when sacrifice becomes necessary. Only when fear demands retreat. Only when danger offers every excuse to leave. The Golden Goose King looked toward the sky. The rest of the flock had disappeared beyond the horizon. Yet strangely, he no longer felt alone. One faithful friend outweighed 10,000 fearful companions. The king turned back toward Suhmukha. Do you understand what may happen? Yes. You may die. Yes. You may never see the mountains again. Yes. You may never return home. Suhmukha nodded after each statement. Without hesitation. Without regret. Then he spoke the words that would echo through countless lifetimes. Where my king suffers, I will remain. Where my friend stands, I will stand. If death comes, we will face it together. The lake became silent once more. Even the wind seemed to pause. The Golden Goose King's eyes grew moist. Not from fear, but from gratitude, for loyalty is one of the rarest treasures in all the worlds. And in that moment, standing beside a muddy lakeshore, trapped beneath a hunter's net, he found himself richer than any king. Neither goose noticed that another pair of eyes had been watching the entire conversation. The hunter, hidden among the reeds, listening, observing, and feeling something unexpected beginning to awaken within his heart. Hidden among the reeds, the hunter remained perfectly still. For many years he had lived by the bow, the snare, and the net. He knew the habits of animals. He understood how fear controlled them. He had seen deer abandon wounded companions. He had seen birds scatter the moment danger appeared. He had witnessed countless creatures choose survival above all else. Such things never surprised him. That was simply the way of the world. Or so he had always believed. Yet what he witnessed now was different. Very different. The hunter stared at Suhmukha. The young goose had every opportunity to escape. No net restrained him. No injury slowed him. The sky remained open. Freedom lay only a few wing beats away. And yet he stayed. Not because he hoped to rescue the king. Not because he expected a reward. Not because he believed he could survive. He stayed because of loyalty. The hunter felt a strange discomfort in his chest. An unfamiliar sensation. For the first time in many years, he found himself questioning something he had long accepted. Who, among human beings, would do the same? Who would willingly remain beside a doomed friend? Who would choose danger over safety? The hunter lowered his eyes. Memories began surfacing. Long-buried memories. He remembered his childhood. He remembered his father. An honest man. A simple man. A man who often spoke of virtue. Never abandon those who trust you. His father had repeated those words many times. The hunter had forgotten them. Or perhaps he had chosen to forget. Life had become difficult. Poverty had hardened his heart. Survival had become more important than principles. Slowly, year after year, compassion had faded. Not all at once, but little by little. Like a river drying beneath the summer sun. Now, standing among the reeds, he suddenly saw himself reflected in the actions of two birds. One trapped. One free. One prepared for death. One prepared to share it. And somehow their conduct seemed nobler than that of many kings. The hunter felt ashamed. Not because he had captured the goose, but because he realized how much goodness he himself had lost. A deep silence settled over the lake. The Golden Goose King and Suhmukha remained together. Neither spoke. Neither complained. Neither cursed their fate. They simply waited. The hunter could delay no longer. Slowly he stepped from his hiding place. The reeds parted. Sunlight struck his face. Immediately Suhmukha moved forward. Not to flee. Not to attack. But to place himself between the hunter and his king. The hunter stopped. For a moment nobody moved. The lake seemed frozen in time. Then the hunter spoke. His voice was softer than he expected. Why? Suhmukha did not answer immediately. The hunter repeated the question. Why remain here? You are free. You could escape. You could save yourself. Suhmukha met the man's gaze. Then he answered calmly, because he is my king. The hunter frowned. Many kings are abandoned when trouble comes. Suhmukha nodded. Then those who abandon them reveal their own character. The hunter was silent. Again he asked. Is your life worth so little? The young goose shook his head. My life is precious. Then why risk it? Suhmukha's answer came without hesitation. Because gratitude is precious too. The hunter felt the word strike deeply. The young goose continued. A friend who protects you deserves loyalty. A teacher who guides you deserves respect. A king who sacrifices for his people deserves devotion. His voice remained calm. If I save my body but lose my honor, what have I truly saved? The hunter could not answer. For years he had believed strength meant survival. Now a bird was teaching him otherwise. He turned toward the Golden Goose King. The magnificent creature remained trapped. Yet no fear appeared in his eyes. Only compassion. Even now. Even facing death. The hunter felt increasingly uneasy. Golden King, he said quietly, are you not angry? The Goose King looked at him kindly. Why should I be angry? I captured you. You acted according to your understanding. The hunter blinked. Most creatures struggled. Most cursed. Most hated. This king did none of those things. The Goose King continued. Hatred cannot heal suffering. Only wisdom can. The hunter stared in disbelief. The bird spoke as a sage might speak. Not as a prisoner awaiting death. Something inside the hunter began breaking apart. Years of hardness. Years of indifference. Years of seeing animals as nothing more than prey. The Golden Goose King looked directly at him. My friend. The hunter flinched. No one had called him friend in a very long time. Certainly not a creature caught in his trap. The Goose King continued gently. Every being makes mistakes. Every being can also change. The hunter lowered his head. A lump formed in his throat. He suddenly felt ashamed of the net. Ashamed of the trap. Ashamed of the greed that had motivated him. Not greed for wealth alone. But greed for recognition. For success. For praise. The hunter knelt beside the trapped king. His hands trembled slightly. For several moments he simply stared at the tangled cords. Then he spoke. I have spent my life taking freedom from others. His voice cracked. Today I have learned freedom from those I captured. Tears gathered in his eyes. The Golden Goose King remained silent. The hunter reached toward the net. For years those hands had tightened snares. Now they would do something different. Something he had not expected when the sun rose that morning. One knot loosened. Then another. Then another. The cords began falling away. Slowly. Carefully. Reverently. Until at last the net opened. The Golden Goose King's wings were free. His legs were free. His body was free. The hunter stepped back. A profound stillness filled the lakeshore. The Goose King rose gently to his feet. Sunlight danced across his golden feathers. Beside him, Suhmukha closed his eyes in relief. The hunter expected them to fly away immediately. Instead, both geese remained where they were, looking at him. Not with fear, not with resentment, but with gratitude. And that gratitude touched the hunter more deeply than any reward he had ever received. Yet the most extraordinary part of the story had not happened yet, for the Golden Goose King was about to offer the hunter something even greater than freedom. He was about to offer him wisdom. The morning sun continued its slow ascent across the sky. Golden light spread over the lake of blessings. Lotus blossoms opened fully upon the water. The breeze carried the fragrance of flowers through the reeds. Yet for the hunter, the world no longer felt the same. Only a short time earlier he had hidden among the marshes, waiting to claim a prize. Now he stood before two magnificent beings and felt as though he were the student and they were the teachers. The Golden Goose King stretched his wings gently. Though freed from the net, marks remained where the cords had pressed against his flesh. Suhmukha moved closer. Concern filled his eyes. "My king, are you injured?" The Golden Goose King smiled. "The body feels pain. But pain does not have to become suffering." The hunter listened carefully. Even such a simple sentence seemed filled with wisdom. The king looked toward the man who had released him. "My friend." The hunter bowed his head instinctively. He did not understand why. But respect arose naturally in the presence of the Golden Goose King. "You have performed a noble act today." The hunter shook his head. "No. I trapped you. I acted from greed. I do not deserve praise." The Goose King replied gently. "A person should not be judged only by yesterday." The hunter looked up. The king continued. "If that were true, nobody could improve. Nobody could change. Nobody could become wiser." The hunter fell silent. The words settled deeply within him. For years he had carried regrets, mistakes, failures, actions he wished he could undo. Yet he had always believed those things defined him forever. Now, hearing the king speak, another possibility appeared. Perhaps transformation was possible. Perhaps goodness could be rediscovered. The Golden Goose King seemed to understand his thoughts. Every life contains both darkness and light. The wise do not cling to either. They simply choose which one to nourish. The hunter felt as though a door had opened inside his heart. Suhmukha smiled quietly. He had heard teachings like these many times. Yet each time they sounded fresh. Each time they revealed something new. The hunter knelt beside the lakeshore. "My lord," he said softly, "how did you become so wise?" The Golden Goose King gazed toward the distant mountains. For a few moments he remained silent. Then he answered, "By making mistakes." The hunter blinked. The answer surprised him. The king continued, "By losing things I loved. By witnessing suffering. By learning from pain rather than becoming bitter because of it." The lake shimmered beneath the sunlight. A dragonfly landed briefly upon a lotus leaf. Then flew away. The Goose King watched it disappear. Most beings try to escape suffering. But suffering can be a teacher. The hunter listened intently. When loss arrives, it teaches impermanence. When fear arrives, it teaches courage. When betrayal arrives, it teaches discernment. When death approaches, it teaches what truly matters. The hunter lowered his eyes. His entire life had been spent running from discomfort. Running from fear. Running from uncertainty. Perhaps that was why peace had always remained beyond his reach. The Golden Goose King turned toward Suhmukha. "And friendship teaches gratitude." Suhmukha bowed respectfully. The hunter looked at the younger goose. His heart filled with admiration. He had never witnessed loyalty like this before. The king continued, "There is no treasure equal to a true friend. No fortress stronger than trust. No wealth greater than a pure heart." The hunter whispered, "I understand." But deep down he knew he understood only a little. The Goose King smiled kindly. "Wisdom grows slowly. Like a tree. No one gains it all at once." The hunter nodded. Then a thought suddenly entered his mind. A memory. The king. The queen. The dream. The mission that had brought him here. His eyes widened. "My lord." The Golden Goose King looked at him. "There is something you should know." The hunter explained everything. The dream of Queen Kima. Her illness. Her longing to hear the teachings of a golden goose. The construction of the lake. The king's wish to bring the legendary bird to the palace. As the story unfolded, Suhmukha listened with surprise. At last the hunter finished. Silence settled over the lakeshore. The Golden Goose King remained thoughtful. He understood immediately. No hatred had motivated the king of Benares. No cruelty. Only love for his suffering queen. The Goose King closed his eyes briefly. Compassion arose within him. The queen suffered because she longed for wisdom. The king suffered because he loved his queen. The hunter suffered because he had lost his way. Different forms. Same root. All beings sought happiness. All beings struggled against suffering. The Goose King opened his eyes. My friend. The hunter bowed again. Yes. You have shown compassion today. The hunter looked confused. The king smiled. Now let us complete that compassion. The hunter frowned slightly. What do you mean? The Golden Goose King's answer would soon change the destiny of an entire kingdom. Take us to the palace. The hunter stared in disbelief. My lord? Take me to King Samaya. Suhmukha looked equally surprised. The hunter shook his head rapidly. You are free now. You can return to the mountains. Why risk yourself again? The Goose King's eyes shone with calm certainty. Because there are people who need the Dharma. The breeze moved softly across the lake. The hunter felt goosebumps rise along his skin. The king had every reason to leave, every reason to think only of his own safety. Yet once again he chose compassion. Not for himself. For others. The hunter suddenly understood why 90,000 geese followed this king. And why one loyal friend had been willing to die beside him. The Golden Goose King was not merely wise. He was the embodiment of wisdom itself. And together, they were about to begin a journey that would transform a kingdom. The sun had already begun its slow descent when the journey to Benares commenced. The hunter prepared a carrying pole as the Golden Goose King had instructed. He did not bind them. He did not cage them. Instead, he treated them with the respect one would offer honored guests. The long wooden pole rested across his shoulders. At one end sat the Golden Goose King. At the other sat faithful Suhmukha. Neither bird attempted to fly away. Neither showed the slightest fear. The hunter walked steadily toward the city. Along the road, farmers paused from their work. Merchants stopped their carts. Children abandoned their games. Everyone stared. For never in their lives had they witnessed such a sight. Two golden birds glowing beneath the afternoon sun. One majestic and serene. The other noble and watchful. And a hunter carrying them as though escorting royalty. People whispered. Are they celestial beings? Are they spirits from the mountains? Look at their feathers. I have never seen such beauty. As the procession continued, more people joined behind them. Curiosity spread throughout the countryside. By the time they approached Benares, a crowd had gathered. Word traveled quickly through the city streets. The legendary Golden Goose had arrived. The guards at the palace gates were astonished. Messengers rushed inside. Soon the news reached King Suhmukha himself. The king rose immediately from his throne. His heart pounded. Could it truly be him? The being from the queen's dream? The king hurried toward the palace entrance. Ministers followed. Servants followed. Guards followed. An entire court surged behind him. When the king finally stepped outside, he stopped in amazement. Before him stood the most magnificent creature he had ever seen. The Golden Goose King seemed almost radiant. His feathers reflected the evening light like molten gold. His eyes carried extraordinary calm. His presence alone seemed to quiet the mind. For several moments the king could not speak. Then he bowed. A king bowed before a goose. Yet no one found it strange. Because everyone present felt they were standing before greatness. My lord, King Suhmukha said respectfully. Welcome. The Golden Goose King inclined his head gently. The king immediately ordered preparations. A golden seat was brought forth. Fine cloths were spread. Lotus flowers decorated the hall. Water was offered. Fruits were presented. Every gesture reflected reverence. Soon the royal court assembled. Ministers, generals, scholars, priests, nobles. All wished to witness the extraordinary visitor. Then Queen Kima entered. The moment she saw the Golden Goose King, tears filled her eyes. The dream, the voice, the peaceful presence. Everything was exactly as she remembered. For a few moments she simply stood motionless. Then she slowly approached. The Goose King looked at her kindly. At that instant, something remarkable happened. The heavy sorrow that had burdened her for so many months began to dissolve. Not because of magic. Not because of a miracle. But because she had finally found what her heart had been seeking. Wisdom. Peace. Meaning. The king helped her sit nearby. The entire hall grew silent. Everyone waited. The Golden Goose King looked around the room. He saw powerful people, wealthy people, educated people. Yet beneath their different appearances, he saw the same thing he saw in all living beings: the desire for happiness, the fear of loss, the search for meaning. And so he began to speak. His voice was gentle, clear, steady. Yet every word seemed to reach directly into the hearts of those listening. Great King. King Samaya bowed his head. All beings seek happiness. No being seeks suffering. The king nodded. The Goose King continued. Yet many pursue happiness through harmful actions. They seek peace through violence. They seek security through greed. They seek fulfillment through endless desire. A profound stillness settled over the hall. Even the servants listened intently. The Goose King looked toward the Queen. Desire itself is not evil, but attachment creates suffering. Queen Kima lowered her eyes thoughtfully. The Goose King continued. When we cling too tightly, we become prisoners. Not prisoners of iron chains, but prisoners of our own minds. The ministers exchanged glances. The words felt strangely true. Then the Goose King turned toward King Samaya. A ruler's greatest strength is not power. It is compassion. The king listened carefully. The Goose King's eyes shone with warmth. A kingdom governed through fear becomes unstable. A kingdom governed through greed becomes corrupt, but a kingdom governed through kindness flourishes. The court remained completely silent. No one wished to interrupt. The teachings flowed like a clear river. Simple, elegant, profound. The Golden Goose King spoke about generosity, about patience, about truthfulness, about forgiveness, about the responsibility that comes with authority. Hours seemed to pass like minutes. Gradually the atmosphere within the hall transformed. People felt lighter, calmer, more reflective. The Queen's illness faded completely. The king's heart opened. Even hardened officials found themselves reconsidering their lives. As evening approached, golden sunlight streamed through the palace windows. The hall glowed warmly. And the teachings of the Golden Goose King continued flowing through the hearts of everyone present. By the time he finished, nothing in the kingdom would ever be quite the same again. For true wisdom does not merely inform the mind. It transforms the soul. The great hall remained silent long after the Golden Goose King finished speaking. No one wished to break the stillness. The evening sun cast long beams of golden light across the polished floor. Lotus incense drifted softly through the air. Outside, the city of Benares continued its ordinary life. Merchants closed their shops. Families gathered for supper. Children played in narrow streets. Yet within the palace, something extraordinary had occurred. Hearts had changed. Minds had awakened. And many people were experiencing a peace they had never known before. King Suhmukha sat quietly upon his throne. For a long time he said nothing. The teachings of the Golden Goose King echoed within him. He thought about his responsibilities, his decisions, his ambitions, his fears. He remembered wars fought in the past, punishments he had ordered, animals hunted for sport, lives affected by his commands. The more he reflected, the more clearly he saw the truth. A ruler's actions reach far beyond himself. One decision can bring suffering to thousands, or happiness to thousands. At last the king rose. The entire court immediately stood with him. He walked slowly toward the Golden Goose King. Then, before everyone present, he bowed deeply. "My lord." His voice trembled with emotion. "Today you have given me a treasure greater than any wealth." The Goose King smiled gently. "The Dharma belongs to all beings." The king nodded. "Yet few possess the wisdom to teach it." Turning toward his ministers, he raised his voice. "Let all hear my command." The hall became silent once more. "From this day forward, hunting for pleasure shall cease throughout my kingdom." The ministers exchanged startled glances. Some looked surprised, others looked relieved. The king continued. "All animals kept solely for entertainment shall be released. The sanctuaries protecting birds and wildlife shall be expanded. Those who care for living creatures shall receive royal support." The court listened attentively. The king's words continued flowing. Like a river released from a dam. Wealth exists to serve the people. Power exists to protect the weak. Authority exists to uphold justice. Many ministers lowered their heads thoughtfully. For years they had heard laws, orders, commands. But today they heard wisdom. The Golden Goose King's teachings had taken root. Queen Kima watched quietly. Tears glimmered in her eyes. Yet these were not tears of sorrow. They were tears of gratitude. For months she had suffered from an emptiness she could not explain. Physicians had failed. Medicines had failed. Comfort had failed. Yet wisdom had succeeded. Not because wisdom magically removed suffering, but because it illuminated its cause. And once the cause was understood, the burden dissolved. She approached the Golden Goose King and bowed respectfully. "My lord." The Goose King inclined his head. "You have healed me." The king answered gently. "You healed yourself." The queen looked surprised. The Goose King smiled. "Truth was already waiting within your heart. I merely helped you see it." The queen felt a profound calm settle over her. For the first time in many months, her mind was completely at peace. Meanwhile, servants entered the hall carrying magnificent gifts. Gold, silver, jewels, rare fabrics, carved ivory, decorated chests filled with treasures. The wealth of a kingdom. King Samaya gestured toward the offerings. "My lord, please accept these gifts." The hall waited expectantly. No one doubted the Golden Goose King deserved such rewards. Yet the Goose King simply looked at the treasures. Then he smiled. A warm smile. A peaceful smile. A smile completely untouched by desire. "Great King, these things are beautiful, but they are not useful to me." The court murmured softly. The king looked puzzled. "Not useful?" The Goose King nodded. "My home is among lakes and mountains. My wealth is freedom. My palace is the open sky." The hall fell silent. The Goose King continued. "What use would jewels be to a bird? What use would silver be to one who drinks from mountain streams? What use would palaces be to one whose roof is the heavens?" Many people smiled. Others felt humbled. The Goose King's words revealed something many had forgotten. Possession and happiness are not the same. The king looked at the treasures. Then back at the Goose King. For the first time, he truly understood. The wealth before him could purchase many things. But not wisdom. Not peace. Not friendship. Not virtue. Those treasures must be cultivated within the heart. The Golden Goose King looked kindly at the ruler. "If you wish to honor me, there is something far more valuable you can offer." The king immediately replied, "Name it." The Goose King's eyes shone with compassion. "Protect your people." The hall became silent. "Govern with kindness. Care for the poor. Speak truthfully. Protect the vulnerable. Treat every life with respect." The king listened carefully. "Do this, and your kingdom will prosper. Do this, and future generations will bless your name. Do this, and that will be the greatest gift." King Samaya bowed deeply. "I promise." And for the first time in many years, he meant every word completely. The Golden Goose King saw the sincerity in his heart. and he knew the time had come to return home. Far away, beyond the mountains, 90,000 anxious geese still waited. Still hoped. Still prayed for their king's return. Soon, very soon, they would see him again. Night settled gently over the kingdom of Benares. The palace lanterns glowed softly beneath the stars. A cool breeze moved through the royal gardens. Yet unlike previous nights, a deep sense of peace filled the palace. King Samaya sat quietly upon a terrace overlooking the city. Beside him sat Queen Kima. Neither spoke for a long while. There was no need. The restlessness that had haunted the queen for so many months had vanished. The king's heart, once burdened by worry, felt lighter than it had in years. Far below, the city continued its nightly rhythms. But something invisible had changed. A seed had been planted. A seed of compassion. A seed of wisdom. And like all seeds, it would continue growing long after the Golden Goose King had departed. At dawn the next morning, preparations were made for the farewell. The king personally accompanied the Golden Goose King and Suhmukha to the edge of the city. Ministers came. Soldiers came. Servants came. Even ordinary citizens gathered to offer their respects. Many bowed. Many wept. Many wished the Golden Goose King would remain forever. But true teachers do not belong to palaces. Nor do they belong to kings. They belong to the path, and the path always continues onward. King Samaya stood before the Golden Goose King. "My lord," he said softly, "I wish there were some way to repay what you have given us." The Golden Goose King smiled. "There is." The king looked hopeful. "Continue practicing what you have learned." The Goose King's eyes shone with warmth. "A single act of compassion is worth more than 1,000 words. A single act of honesty is worth more than 100 promises. A single act of forgiveness can change a lifetime." The king bowed deeply. "I will remember." Queen Kima stepped forward. Her face was healthy once more. Peaceful. Radiant. No trace remained of the illness that had once consumed her. "My lord," she said, her voice trembling slightly, "thank you." The Goose King inclined his head. "May your wisdom continue growing." The Queen smiled. "I pray it will." Nearby stood the hunter. No longer merely a hunter. Something within him had changed. The hardness that once ruled his heart had softened. The greed that once guided him had weakened. The Golden Goose King looked toward him. "My friend." The hunter immediately bowed. "I am no longer worthy of that title." The Goose King shook his head. "Worthiness is not determined by the past. It is determined by the direction you choose today." The hunter felt tears fill his eyes. For the second time, the words pierced deeply into his heart. "I will remember." The Goose King nodded. Then our meeting was not in vain. The moment of departure had arrived. The Golden Goose King spread his magnificent wings. Sunlight flashed across feathers of living gold. Beside him, faithful Suhmukha did the same. For a brief moment they stood together. King and companion. Teacher and disciple. Friend and friend. Then, with a powerful sweep of their wings, they rose into the morning sky. The crowd watched in silence. Higher and higher they climbed, until they became two golden lights drifting toward the distant mountains. The journey home was long. Yet neither spoke much. Sometimes true friendship requires no words. The sky stretched endlessly before them. Clouds drifted beneath them. Rivers wound through the earth like silver threads. As the day passed, the familiar outline of the Himalayas appeared upon the horizon. The sacred peaks rose into the heavens. The sight filled Suhmukha with joy. "We are home." The Golden Goose King smiled. "Yes." But as they approached the sacred lake, another sound reached their ears. A sound unlike wind. Unlike water. Unlike birdsong. It was weeping. Thousands upon thousands of voices. The flock. Since the day of the king's capture, the 90,000 geese had remained in mourning. Many blamed themselves. Many feared the worst. Many believed they would never see their king again. The younger geese especially carried heavy shame. For they remembered their panic. They remembered abandoning their king. Every day they had scanned the horizon. Every day they had hoped. And every day they had feared disappointment. Then suddenly one goose cried out. "Look!" Heads turned upward. Eyes widened. The sky itself seemed to stop. Two golden figures approached from the distance. The Golden Goose King. And Suhmukha. Alive. A tremendous cry erupted across the lake. The flock surged into the air. Thousands of wings filled the sky. Joy spread like sunlight after a storm. The geese surrounded their returning king. Some laughed. Some cried. Some could scarcely believe what they were seeing. The younger geese lowered their heads in shame. "My king! We abandoned you. We failed you." The Golden Goose King looked upon them kindly. There was no anger in his eyes. No resentment. Only compassion. "You acted from fear." The flock remained silent. The king continued. "Fear is a powerful teacher. If you learn from it, even mistakes become wisdom." The younger geese listened carefully. The king looked toward Suhmukha. "And today you have all witnessed what true friendship looks like." The flock turned toward the loyal commander. Many felt humbled. Many felt inspired. The Golden Goose King raised his wings. The entire lake grew silent. Then he spoke one final lesson. A lesson that would endure long after that lifetime had ended. Wealth disappears. Beauty fades. Power changes hands. Life itself is uncertain. But goodness never goes to waste. Compassion never goes to waste. And loyalty never goes to waste. The words settled gently across the lake. Like falling petals upon still water. Years later, many who heard them would still remember. Lifetimes later, their meaning would remain unchanged. And so the Golden Goose King continued guiding his flock. Suhmukha remained faithfully at his side. The hunter walked a better path. The king governed with compassion. The queen lived in peace. And the story became one more thread woven into the vast tapestry of wisdom that stretches across countless ages.